passing. Rebecca Hall's film debut, or a directorial debut, I should
Right.
say, um, on Netflix as well, starring Tessa Thompson, Ruth Nega, Andre Holland, Bill Camp, a lot of people we like, Alexander Skarsgård.
Mhm.
Um, I guess I want to start here. Rebecca Hall. When you think of her, what do you think of? I go to the town, I guess, first.
Yeah, I go to the town as well. Uh, we actually just talked about her kind of recently with Godzilla versus Kong.
Yep.
Not the best role or anything. And I know she got a lot of love for the Night House, the horror movie from last year. But yeah, I go to the town for sure. But
Yeah.
she's been working for quite some time. If you look at the filmography.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously in an Iron Man movie. Um, oh, Everything Must Go. Forgot about that. Frost Nixon. Oh, wow. Yep. Yeah, she's in a couple of things I like here. Anyways, I was surprised because she wasn't someone I was like, oh, I can't wait to see her get behind the camera and tell
Mhm.
some stories, and
Yeah.
especially a story like this was not something I expected her to tell. Passing, um, it centers around two friends played by uh, Tessa Thompson as Irene, I believe her name is,
Yes,
Rini, and
Redfield.
then Ruth Nega as Claire. And Ruth Nega as Claire, is able to pass as a white woman back in, I believe this is 1920s,
Yes, New York City. Yeah,
1920s New York City. Her
pre-depression.
she's able to pass so convincingly that her husband Alexander Skarsgård is not able to tell that she is a black woman in reality. And after they come back into contact, they start spending more time together, and it kind of sends at least Tessa Thompson's life into some sort of reflection, or maybe not so good direction.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I again not a story I expected to be told by Rebecca Hall. Did you feel like she pulled this movie off?
Yes, it did. It's adapted from the 1929 Nella Larson novel. And the reason I wasn't expecting is because I did not know that Rebecca Hall is of mixed race. Obviously, someone that can pass quite convincingly.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just not something I was thinking about. But there was a lot of hype about this movie at Sundance. Netflix purchased it for 15 million. Big, pricey, buzzy award season buy. And nice, I think nice end note for Hall because she kind of, looked under the covers for loose change to fund this movie. The last bit of the 10 million that they used to make this movie apparently was very hard to come by, and she had to like apply for grants and stuff. And at one point, she was approached to sacrifice her vision a little bit and do it in color, not in black and white.
Mhm.
Um, so it's nice to see the success, realized, and I feel like earned for her as a filmmaker, and you'll see some like first feature directing awards flowing in for her. You have to imagine. I think she already got one of those noms at the Gotham Awards. Um, but yeah, I mean, I didn't read the book. Didn't I kind of just knew the basic log line as the title suggests. But I still thought it was pretty good. It's not the movie I expected it to be, though, and I think Hall deserves a lot of credit because there's a lot of, I think, intentionality with how the movie is staged and also how it's written. Honestly, it's not like super in your face about how Irene is feeling about things as she's going through this period of change and reflection. It's more subtle and or understated than I expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I never felt like the movie wholly lagged. Like I think there's definitely some parts where it's like people having conversations, like subtle moments that you have to like kind of tune into. And I think if you don't totally pay attention, you can miss some of the things that are communicated in the movie, and some of the moments that really impact the overall story that's being told. But it feels like it propels forward pretty well. And I give a lot of credit to Tessa Thompson, and Ruth Nega, who I think both give just like really, really strong performances, especially Thompson, obviously being the main character in this as Rini. But just kind of seeing her spiral, seeing the like looks on her face, or like the way that her like mouth moves when she like sees Brian and Claire like talking to each other at like a party or at the club or things like that. Just like the small little moments really like uh, surprised me and just communicated so much. And I was just really impressed with this. Obviously, like we mentioned, there's a lot of talent, but I think for Rebecca Hall to pull a movie like this off and have it hit as hard as it does, left me thinking a lot about a lot of the themes in the movie, about the overall relationship between Claire and Rini. Um, I was impressed for sure. Um, Tell me about some moments or some scenes in the movie that really stood out to you.
I'd say in general, the fact that it's shot in 4:3 aspect ratio is really effective because it's intentional and actually like makes an impact. The feeling of being boxed in that Rini is sensing
Mhm.
comes across in the way the movie is shot. On top of that, you have it shot in black and white, but as Rebecca Hall has said in some of the press, it's not black and white. Oh, this is super obvious. It's actually like all the shades of gray we see when we watch something in black and white. And I also like the effect that the black and white has on two, light skinned performers in Ruth Negga and Tessa Thompson. The effect of the passing, like it's all very effective and kind of like transportive. The way
Mhm.
the movie's made in monochrome. So I just in general, I just really appreciate how it was made. Um, Also, I like that set in New York specifically. Um, you know, color lines, Jim Crow were happening everywhere, not just in the South. Important to see that portrayed. That was great. Uh, yeah, honestly, the ending I think is pretty good. But
Mhm.
a lot of like the scenes in the middle, right? Like a lot of stuff with Rainey, it's just kind of a lot to like chew on because it's just her kind of just parsing her identity and how she feels and like her perspective changing and stuff. And maybe to some it's not focused enough or it's a little vague. I don't know. And like to me, it's not like I was like super clear all the time what was being conveyed either. But I just think like the overall message, the overall mood is really purposeful, and that's why the movie works for me.
Yeah, those like scenes in the middle. I'm thinking about like the dinner scene where uh, Andre Holland's Brian is talking to their children about the lynching of John Carter. Um, was it John Carter?
Yes, sounds right.
Yes, and the famous boxer, and the Tessa Thompson not wanting her children to hear about these things and wanting to like protect them from the realities of racism during that time and the danger that their children lived with because of their identity. And then how that also played out and so many themes played out into the relationship and the insecurity she had in Brian and Claire's relationship and the paranoia she felt about a potential affair. And just the way that it all kind of like interwove together, I just thought was really, really impressive. And you can just see these conversations being so layered and so uh, uh, full of context and unspoken things. And I just was really impressed with the writing and the delivery of a lot of it. I also thought Skarsgård played like uh, continuing a run of playing really good bad guys.
Hmm.
Obviously from uh, man, why can't I remember that show on HBO?
Big Little
Big
Lies.
Little Lies. Jeez, I can never remember the name of it. Playing Big Little Lies, bad guy, and now the evil racist husband of Claire in this,
Right.
who is very blatantly like, yeah, I don't like black people, and she's like, obviously can't tell who a black person is during this time, which I think is um just kind of like I don't know if funny is the right word, but just ironic, I guess, is supposed to be.
Right.
But then him at the end when Rini runs into him, and then just kind of like the spiral from there, and you just know it's coming, where that confrontation is coming, just was really, really, I think, well done, and he felt very menacing to me
Hmm.
at points. So, just impressed with a lot of this movie for sure, and I really liked the jazz in the background, and kind of like as like the running through line, and it being like a neighbor who was playing it at all hours of the night type of thing. I thought was
Hmm.
a nice, funny little touch. So, just some nice choices in this for sure.
Yeah. In general, the choices make sense for Tessa Thompson, another period role after Sylvie's Love, and then Ruth Nega thematically following up Loving, the movie
Mhm.
about mixed couple in the South, where of course which she was Oscar nominated for. Definitely seems to be a continuation of black storytelling that they're both very invested in. It's great to see. Um, Notably, because this movie had financial struggles with its production, obviously really short shoot, tight budget, they actually had to switch their casting, and Bill Camp came into the movie because he was a New York City resident and thus
Mm.
cheaper. Originally, they were looking at Benedict Cumberbatch for that role, but they never actually cast him because they just couldn't fit it into the budget. So funny to see that kind of stuff, and a lot of times you don't hear about this information when the movies don't come together in the end. But because passing is a success and you know Netflix has embraced it, you get to hear more about how the sausage was made, so to speak.